Good evening, everybody. My name is Cliff Berg. Let me just introduce myself a little bit so you know who I am. I'm a past council president of the Delmarva Council, but I also happen to be the Rotary District Governor nominee for Rotary in this area, Delaware and Maryland. I'm an Eagle Scout and a distinguished Eagle Scout, and Eagle Scout in 1965. So maybe that ages me a little bit with some of the people you're going to hear from tonight. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is really sort of exciting. I know there's some of you on the call that are Scouters and Scouts. Hopefully this will be an inspiration to you to remind you why you're involved with Scouting and how important Scouting is to our community. For those of you who are not necessarily connected to Scouting, but with another organization, or maybe just listening in to hear what this is all about, we're hoping to connect with you and your organization to spread Scouting within our community, within the Delmarva Council, which is the Delaware, Eastern Shore, Maryland, and the very tip of Virginia. And we're hoping that we'll be able to start some new Scout units and reach more youth. Why don't we go ahead and get started? We'll have a pledge by Scarlett Helmecki, and Scarlett is in February of 2021. She became our first girl in Delaware in a Delaware troop to become an Eagle Scout, and she joined the Delmarva Council BSA Troop 1923 after it was formed 2 years ago. She's already has 23 merit badges and have 35 nights of camping under her belt, and completed her Eagle project. And we're very pleased to have her with us tonight. And Scarlett, if you'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, go ahead.
Please Scout salute if in uniform, or hand over heart if you are not. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2.
Thank you, Scarlett. We now have Malin Dyer, who will lead us in the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. Malin is a class of 2019 Eagle Scout from Troop 24 in Wyoming, Delaware. He's held many positions within the Scout troop. He's also very active in the Order of the Arrow. He's our chief and active not only here locally in our council, but also on a regional basis with other lodges throughout this region. He's also involved in our national committees with the Communications Committee. He's a senior at Caesar Rodney High School, and he plays football and throws the shot put and discus. I think he's doing that right now this spring, and he plans on attending Campbell University this fall. So, Malin, you want to go ahead?
Of course. So if everyone please, all Scouts, please raise their hand to the Scout sign. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. 2. We'll now go after the Scout law. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. So,
thank you, Malin. And Scarlett, you'll lead us in an invocation.
Please prepare yourself for a prayer or reflection as you are accustomed to. We are thankful for the many gifts and talents given to our fellow Scouts and Scouters, and to ourselves. The freedom we have to join together and as a team accomplish more than any of us could alone. The opportunity to be of cheerful service to young people, parents, Scouters, and our community. Our joy at seeing so many young people become excited as they grow and are able to meet challenges. and we each in our own way take this moment to silently add our thanksgiving. Amen.
Scarlett. Well, again, greetings to everybody that is on the call, and I hope you enjoy the evening and are rejuvenated if you're in scouting, and if you are not new to scouting, that you'll learn something about it and hopefully be motivated to help us spread scouting throughout the Delmarva Peninsula. I want to introduce just a few of the other people that you're going to hear from tonight and be on our panel later on. I'll leave Shane Victorino until he speaks to introduce him, but we've got Matt Peters on the call. Matthew is a director of the Chesapeake Multicultural Resource Center in Easton, Maryland. It's a nonprofit whose mission is to empower people from different cultures to become successful and engaged members of the community. He's bilingual in Spanish and English, has extensive time spent in Guatemala for 13 years, has a forestry degree from Penn State. Matthew, not sure how that relates necessarily to what you're doing now, but maybe it did in Guatemala while you were there. He returned to the United States in 2012. He's an Eagle Scout, and he's worked with the local community create outreach programs for the Boy Scouts of America through the immigrant community. And we're proud to have him with us tonight as well. We also have from our staff, our Scout Executive, Robert Nakagawa. And Robert has started his scouting career actually as a district executive in Aloha in Honolulu, Hawaii. So he came to our council from a long ways away. More recently, he had been in Denver as the deputy scout executive there. He served in many positions in between that as a scout executive for a smaller council in Hawaii, but he also had an interesting position where he covered many of the Pacific islands for the United States, Pacific Islands, and covered those as a district executive, as a professional. He's an Eagle Scout as well. His whole family is involved with scouting. And we just learned tonight that his daughter crossed over to the Scouts from Cub Scouts. So she's on her way. She's going to be on her way maybe to become another Eagle Scout, Robert. That'd be great. So we also have on that you'll hear from later, Pat Press. Pat is our council president. He grew up in Delaware City, where he was a scout, a Cub Scout, and earned his Eagle Scout Award as well. He's a Brotherhood member of the Order of the Arrow. Has a distinction of really, and Pat, I didn't know this, that you worked in both of our council camps, both at Camp Rodney and Camp Henson, and was an active staff member there and won several awards while he was there as a staff member. When he's not busy with scouting, Pat is the managing director of employer support executive at JP Morgan Chase. He's also quite active in his church. Pat and his wife, Rosie, live in Bear, Delaware with their twins, Abby and Zach. So Pat, good to have you with us tonight as well. Before I want to hear from Malin Dyer, who's going to talk to us about what scouting has done for him. And Malin, I'll turn it over to you.
All righty, thank you very much. So this is not the first time speaking about everything that scouting has done for me, nor will it honestly be my last. The interesting thing, however, is that I can guarantee you that this will not be the same speech I have given before, and I will never give one just like this. You know, and you may ask why, but it's because every time I look back into my scouting career, I can find new things that the scouting program has done for me. There is no way that I can fit everything into these next 7 minutes that I have, but I have some great things to share with you about what the program has brought to me. Whether it's lifelong friendships, new skills outside of your stereotypical scouting skills, or leadership capabilities that have made me a better leader and person in several aspects. I truly cannot thank the Boy Scouts of America enough for everything that it has provided me. Leading off with lifelong friendships, I could talk for days about some of those close friends that I've made, even in the past year while in a global pandemic. I want to start with my two friends, Chris Marshall and Matt Parsons. Chris is our immediate past lodge chief, and Matt is the former national chief of the Order of the Arrow, and he's actually from here in Delaware, down in Millsboro. When I first joined the OA, I was just a 13-year-old with a love for scouting and an ambitious mind. Chris and Matt, they brought me underneath their wing and really showed me the ins and outs of the lodge, which is the lodge is what covers pretty much the whole council in the Order of the Arrow or Scouting's Honor Society. After just a few months, they convinced me to run for lodge secretary and then section secretary, and then all the way up until I ended up where I am today. These roles, involved a lot of transportation as well. And as a young teenager, I was still very far from driving. Just as a scout is taught, though, that was not a problem. And that's because Matt and Chris, they always had my back, bringing me with them to events, whether it was in Puerto Rico, one time even, and even Baltimore, we had meetings, DC, New Jersey, and everywhere in between. Recently, Matt and Chris have both gone to college, Matt at the University of Maryland and Chris at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, but we've made sure to stay in constant contact. This includes, weekends at the beach, a lot of time golfing. We're big golf guys, and sometimes just a dinner to catch up whenever they're in town or even close. Matt and Chris are two of my best friends, so this is just one example of the hundreds of friends that I've made. Right now, I regularly text friends that I've made in Puerto Rico, Alaska, California, everywhere practically in the Northeast region, especially with everything being sort of local this year with COVID. But there are so many connections out there just thanks to scouting. Moving on to scout skills, everyone thinks, about starting fires, reading maps, reading compasses, and cooking. But I'm here to tell you that there is so much more to learn as a scout. The biggest example of this, I think, comes when I was able to go to Puerto Rico. And I went there for post-Hurricane Maria relief and went to Camp Oaxaca, which is about 2 hours away from San Juan in rural Puerto Rico. Luckily, I was able to be a part of a group of 100 scouts that were tasked with rebuilding practically the whole camp. My project included revamping the campfire circle, which did test my art skills that were non-existent at the time. But I was able to work with some guys and get better in order to construct these new statues of Taino gods. On top of that, I wouldn't say I mastered it, but I also bettered my skills at painting and of masonry as well, as it was just overall a team effort to rebuild everything. Not to mention, all of this was done at the hands of our leader, whose primary language was Spanish. I'm nowhere close to being fluent in Spanish. At the time, I was in Spanish 2 in high school, and it really made a difference as I came home very proficient in the Spanish language just from being around it and learning these experiences all brought to me by scouting. One of the most memorable projects for an Eagle Scout, though, is their project. For my project, I was able to put together and execute a plan for 10 picnic tables to be built at our local Little League. After many hours of arduous labor and studying plans, scouting has taught me yet another skill that is helpful in life, and carpentry, and even to a point, engineering, because I have figured out that picnic tables take a lot to build, believe it or not. Another event that really broadened my abilities came this past summer. With COVID-19, we were forced to put on a virtual event for the whole nation to see. I was asked to help run cameras and audio for this event called Momentum Launch, which took place in West Virginia, but was broadcasted all around the nation and even some parts in the world. And I ended up learning great skills on how to use equipment that cost more than some houses. I never knew a camera could cost this much until I did this and had this program that was able to show me these things. I will actually be returning to another camp this coming weekend to help produce the third installment of this program. And my skills from behind the scenes have greatly grown thanks to these experiences in scouting. And then speaking of skills, perhaps the most important skill that I think I've gotten from scouting has been a smorgasbord of leadership skills. I've been to training programs all around the nation in my troop and in the Order of the Arrow. In addition, I have been able to be a trainer for some of these programs, such as Lodge Leadership Development, the National Order of the Arrow Conference, and section conclaves. These leadership skills have made me a better leader outside of the program, especially on the football and track teams that were mentioned that I play on. After being selected as a captain, myself, alongside with some other captains, have addressed both teams using one of these principles that I learned and that are taught in scouting. And that's that teamwork is crucial to any team's success, no matter the sport. Of course, this is true for football, but even in an individual sport like track and field, it's just as important. I implemented some of the skills that I had required in scouting, and with the help of some other leaders of the football team, we were actually able to turn our record around from 3-7 to 5-2 in just 1 year, and we're able to compete in the conference championship that year. Luckily, I'll be able to use these leadership skills as life goes on, as I've seen firsthand that they do not only apply to Boy Scouts, but they apply to everyone and can help every program imaginable. If anything, the Scout Oath and Law will always serve as my moral compass, just as it does for anyone involved in the program. To conclude, I truly cannot fit everything that scouting has done to me in this short amount of time. What I can do is give you a plethora of examples and a promise that I will use what scouting has instilled in me over the past 12 years of my life. For the rest of my time on this planet, as a student, as an athlete, as a working class citizen later on in life, and most importantly, as a person. Just as I stated in my college application essay, if there is one thing or one organization that I can accredit for where I am today, it is the Boy Scouts of America and all of its programs. Scouting has shaped me into who I am today, and I cannot be more proud to be speaking with everyone here tonight about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Malin. Truly from the heart and much appreciated. As many of you know, Scouting opened up its doors to young women about 2 years ago, and we're going to hear from Scarlett. Why did she join the Boy Scouts? Scarlett?
Hi, my name is Scarlett Helmecki. I am 14 years old and I'm an Eagle Scout. I wanted to join Scouts ever since I heard BSA was allowing girls to join. I didn't just want to join Scouts, I wanted to be one of the first female Eagle Scouts in America. As my Scoutmaster said, being the first does not make me better, but it paves the way and shows what is possible as others follow the path. I knew it was going to be tough to accomplish this goal in such a short time, but I've always been one to go for an impossible goal. I knew other organizations were an option, but I was looking for more of an outdoor adventure. Scouts BSA has given me these opportunities. One of the best parts of BSA is getting to choose what you want to learn with the Merit Badge program. In order to obtain the rank of Eagle Scout, you must complete 13 Eagle required Merit Badges and 8 additional ones of my choosing. Scouts BSA has a total of 135 Merit Badges to choose from. Let me paraphrase this the way we explained it at my Eagle Code of Honor. I am an outdoors person. I know how to camp, swim, hike, use wood tools, build a fire, use a camp stove, and find my way with a mapping compass. I have spent at least 40 days and nights camping. Many of those times I planned my own menu and cooked my own food. I'm comfortable with nature. I can identify local animals and plants. I also feel a responsibility towards nature. I understand the causes of water, land, and air pollution, and have participated in at least one conservation-related service project. I'm prepared to know how to treat fractures, head injuries, hypothermia, frostbite, burns, abdominal pain, muscle cramps, even knocked out teeth. I know what to do in case of fire, explosion, desert emergency, motor vehicle accident, mountain accident, food poisoning, gas leak, earthquake, flood, tornado, hurricane, nuclear emergency, and avalanche. I do my best to be a good citizen. I know how the city government is organized. I know my US senators and representatives are and have written a letter to one of them about a national issue. I had to read the Declaration of Independence and the US Constitution. I know how to manage my money and understand the risk of benefits of putting money in saving bonds, mutual funds, common stock, certificates of deposit, and life insurance. I have worked towards fitness goals, which has helped me be a better athlete. I know what it means to be physically, mentally, and socially fit. I try to be a good family member. I know what things are important to the members of my family, and I've talked to my family about finances, substance abuse, and growing up. All of these things I did in order to earn the merit badge is required for Eagle. Beyond the required merit badges, I also earned an additional 12 merit badges. I got to choose topics I was interested in and learn so much more, like the skating merit badge, where I got to rollerblade and skateboard, learn new tricks and how to progress. I also had the chance to take an archery merit badge, where I learned proper care of a bow and arrow and shot at targets. All of these opportunities I've been given have shaped me into the wilderness-loving friend and daughter. I've been given so many opportunities like whitewater rafting in Jim Thorpe or rock climbing with other girls from other scouting troops. I've made so many new friends and gained mentors who have helped guide me and taught me all the way from Scout to Eagle. The goal of many Scouts is to become an Eagle Scout, but ultimately the goal is to be the best you can. Scouts have allowed me to grow as a person and as a leader. I've served in many leadership positions in my troop. I'm better able to communicate with my peers and adults. I've had many opportunities to speak about Scouting and show how positive it can be. This is especially important when young girls start to lose confidence and self-esteem. Scouting is designed to help you find success. Troop 1923 has recently crossed over and added 4 new Scouts. We have grown from roughly 12 Scouts to almost 25 in the past year because it's clear there are a lot of other girls like me who want the opportunity for adventure. I'm currently the patrol leader and mentor of the Gremlins, the newest patrol filled with young Eagle Scouts. It has 7 11 to 12-year-old girls who want to be part of the program. We have enjoyed our first camping trip together and have been working on adventures and skills. I'm very excited for Camp Rodney's Klondike Derby next weekend, a scouting event that brings in troops from all over Delmarva Council to compete in stations using scouting skills such as knot tying, cooking, and teamwork. My hope is more young girls will join Scouts and be able to enjoy the opportunities I have had. SPSA has taught me how to be a good citizen and give back to my community. Mostly, I have done this by over 40 service hours, not including my eco project. Many of those hours were spent with my troop on weekends helping the chartered organization, St. Barnabas Church. We have helped them with many maintenance jobs over the years, like mulching and weeding. Each year, we participate in Scout Sunday and speak about our scouting journey and how much the church means to us. Even if it's over Zoom, we are always happy to help, especially after all they have given back to us. Thank you so much for giving me your time and hearing about my scouting journey.
Thank you, Scarlett. Super job. We're glad you have joined the rank of Eagle Scouts and joined the flock. And now I want to have Matt Peters talk a little bit about how Scouting has benefited his organization. I need to remind the audience as well, if you have questions, there is a question and answer at the bottom of your screen. You can, if you write in cap letters, we'll know that it's a question, and you can ask it of any of the speakers that we've had, as well as when Shane comes on. That'll be a place that you'll be able to ask him questions as well. So Matthew, go ahead.
All right, thank you for having me here tonight, and thank you, Cliff, for the introduction. I'll just start to try and connect one of the strange paths I've taken. Cliff mentioned how I go from forestry and working for the Forest Service to running a multicultural center. It started with my journey to become an Eagle and my love of the outdoors. that directly led me to going into forestry at Penn State, working for the Forest Service. And yes, that was the reason why I joined another organization called Peace Corps, sent down to Guatemala to run my 2-year service as Peace Corps. And then my time down there, I just kind of got stuck working in Guatemala. And then over time, my passions for the environment and trees really transferred to the communities I worked with. And that's kind of how that path went. So it all started with the Eagle Scout in me on my journey. So tonight, what I want to share with everybody is kind of how the organization I run, which is called the Chesapeake Multicultural Resource Center. We started in 2012. We work with the immigrant community here on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. So we've worked with 59 different nationalities, over 4,000 clients we have in our system. And early on, once people knew that I was an Eagle Scout, they encouraged me to look at the idea of reaching and using Scouts as a tool for our organization. So I took that, and in 2013, our Pack 3003, the 3 comes from being the 3rd pack established in our town of Easton, took shape. And so I'm going to take my little bit of time with you tonight to kind of explain how Scouts fits our organization. So our organization's mission is to reach out to the immigrant population here on the Eastern Shore. We provide direct and indirect services, but more of the heart of the mission is how do we engage, empower, and get our community members on the same page and together with each other. So right away, we saw the youth and the families were very attracted to this other strange culture called scouting. So for me, it was pretty easy to start off explaining scouting to families because it was brand new to everybody. No one really had any preconceived notions of what Scouts should be or how it needs to be. So it was really a wonderful blank slate, and we just used the template of scouting to build our own program. So for new organizations, new churches, new community groups, I want you to keep that in mind as I tell this story, that scouting doesn't have to all look the same. Scouting follows the same oath and law, and beyond that, it can really be used to fit your community, and it should be used to fit your community. So the community I work in here now has a very heavy influence of immigrant families. So we design and continue to design and reflect our scouting program to really meet the needs of our community. So I'm going to go through kind of the steps that we went through on new organizations, maybe thinking about this and identifying, what needs to be done to get scouting as a part of your organization. So the first one was youth, right? Whether you're a church group, whether you're a community group, whether you're a sports group, a civic group, whatever it is, start identifying the youth and get to know them, find out what they want, what their parents are looking for. And once you kind of combine that with scouting, you're going to really quickly see scouting can fit all of those needs. And you can be very creative with the way that you do that. So our scouting units, what we've done is really integrate it with a lot of our after school program that we do in schools. We provide that as an option for children, and nearly every single child in our group wants to join Scouts or is interested about it. So really what we're trying to do first is really how do we introduce this culture of scouting? It could be a short-term effect. We hope for it to be a long-term effect. If we can start that seed in their mind of what the scouting program is, the character development behind it, the Scout law, the Scout oath, as many times as we can repeat that, the better off our community will be. At the end of the day, whether they're a Scout for a year or 5 years or 10 years or a lifetime Scout, any one of those skills is a lifelong skill that they'll be able to use to carry on. The second one was, choosing your leaders. Obviously, you might not have many options when you start. So parents are one. We really want to try and empower our parents as much as we can. Scouting does have right now, luckily, everything, or nearly everything in Spanish and English, which helps with the training. We do have other languages spoken, but we're, adapt to be able to use those languages and get the families involved. And then relying on everyone in the family. So we've relied on brothers, sisters, cousins, trying to get the whole family involved at every age and empower them to be leaders within the group. So if you look back on what our core mission is at our organization, that empowering, Scouts really has a wonderful training program, a leadership program, letting parents or siblings, anyone take charge, run a meeting, run an event, give out the awards. There really is a place for every family member in Scouting. Partners. So as an organization or as a church or as any community group, Scouting is just one of the best tools that I can think of on how to connect your organization or church or group to all the wonderful partner agencies in your community, whether that's with the police force that we work with a lot, with, there's a picture there, we have Easton Utilities that now provides tours for all of our families and Scouts in a fun day, to the EMT servers in our community coming out, the mayor getting involved, you name it, Scouts has something in there to involve every partner organization, whether it's a sports club, a baseball club, a music club, a ballet club, it's in the Scout book somewhere. So you're able to really use your organization to connect with everybody that you see. As an organization, a lot of times you're kind of worried about funding. Again, just really kind of start small and it will grow. For us, we did not start off with the big ambitions of investing a ton of money in our project. We started small with the families, what they're comfortable with, and we grew it. Obviously, one of the things that the families and youth really wanted to invest money on was uniforms, to make sure children had access to the tops of the uniforms at least, which helps provide that sense of unity. And then we really tasked our children to get out and fundraise, which has been one of our greatest strengths, is selling popcorn or doing other things. And we had such a successful year during COVID of selling popcorn that our Scouts, we weren't able to spend that money on a field trip, and they decided to choose a local organization to donate their popcorn money to, or a part of that. So again, it just helps really become more invested part of that community. Remember, Scouting doesn't have to be all the bells and whistles. You can design Scouts to be what you need. Work with families where they're at. You don't have to pressure them to meet any expectations with money. And there are plenty of creative ways that Scouting provides to organizations on how to get your units funded. So the journey, right? We've been here in Easton since 2012, 13, and just being able to see some of the journey. So I look at this one here. When we first started, you'll see the picture of Brian there. When he was a tiger, I think that's him out selling popcorn. And then to see him grow up, he's the one of the taller boys in the middle there, Brian, entering the troop a few years ago. And I think he's just earned the class of first class rank in the troop. So you really get, it's not a one-time thing. It's not a one-year commitment that you give to these youth. It really is seeing them grow, develop, change. And I'm really excited to see now, as we heard Scarlett's and Malin's stories, to continue so many stories of all the youth in our community. Okay, one more slide. So I'll just finish up saying, our pack and everything and our goals and our vision for Scouts started very small. We were given the flexibility and the support from so many other Scouting leaders, from national to council to our district level, to other units. You get a lot of support in the scouting community. You're not rushed. You can build it how you want it to reflect your community. And once you do, you join this scouting family. And each unit will look different. Each unit will feel different. We're continuing to grow and become more and more diversified with the inclusion of women recently. All of our immigrant groups, our languages, all of our different communities, religious communities we have. It really is a wonderful place to start. So I encourage all of you here tonight, if you're thinking about how Scouts can work for you, I'd be happy to continue this conversation anytime. And all I can say is that it does, right? It helps brings family together, and it helps connect families to the greater community.
Thank you, Matt. Did a great job. Thank you. Well, it's now my pleasure to bring on the main event of the night, Shane. I have to admit, when we lived in the Philadelphia area, he was one of our favorite ball players to watch for the Phillies. And we're really happy that he's able to join us tonight. Shane, I want to just do a quick introduction that you sent to us, and then we'll let you take over. I will remind the audience that he's going to sort of do this in a question and answer format, as I understand. So please feel free to write questions in the question and answer down at the bottom of your screen. If you'll scroll down there, that'll come up. I don't think you can get into the chat box, but if you can get in the chat box, you could look there. You could write your question there as well and do it in cap letters so we know that it's a question. Shane Victorino made his major league debut with the Padres in 2003, and he played for the Phillies from 2005 through 2012. He won 3 Gold Glove Awards and was named to 2 Major League Baseball All-Star games, and was a member of the 2008 World Series champions. And then he went on with the Red Sox and won his 4th Gold Glove Award, was a member of the 2013 World Series champions. And I'm sure he's also proud that he also won the Lou Gehrig Memorial Award in 2008 and the Branch Rickey Award in 2011. And if you saw our program, he's also a proud Eagle Scout, I'm sure, and grew up with a scouting program. So Shane, I'll let you take it over.
Thanks, Cliff. Thank you, Cliff, for having me. Hello, everyone. It's honestly an honor to be here. It's when I was asked to do these kind of things, I love getting on and listening to all the inspiring stories that, was shared. And, looking back at my childhood and becoming an Eagle Scout and the journey that I went on, there was a lot of relations to what was being said and the journey that you go on. And it's humbling to see it continue on to the next generation of youth. And the thing that I remember fondly about Boy Scouts, and at some point, and I don't know if a lot of people talk about it, but it didn't become the famous thing to do, where a lot of my friends wanted to do other things when they got to a certain age. But I remember my mom pushing it and instilling in me, the life skills that I would learn via Boy Scouts. And, it definitely helped me along my journey and helped me to get to where I was as a World Series champion. So, as I said, it's humbling to listen to everybody. I'm going to open up for a discussion. I love to, what kind of questions, people may have. Here's one. What's your favorite scouting memory? Favorite campout? In fact, I just wrote that down. I remember every summer we went to, I grew up on the island of Maui, and we went to a campground called Camp Maluhia. It was in the Kahakuloa Mountains, which is on the west side, or I shouldn't say the west side, but on the West Maui Mountains, on the central side. And I just remember all the life skills from archery to, being around, all the scouts that were there from the island. It's definitely different when you grow up a little island. Everybody kind of knows everybody. But going there, doing swimming and just competing, teaching me the competitive nature, amongst troops and competing with my troop against other troops. Those are the kind of things that I fondly remember about my summer camps, and having, Boy Scouts as another avenue besides just playing sports to bring out a competitive side of me. Seth asks, how did I balance baseball with scouting? Man, you know what? Honestly, baseball wasn't the only sport. I was trying to juggle all sports. I played soccer growing up. I played baseball. In high school, I was still in the Scouts, and I was playing. I added football into the equation, and I added track into the equation. So, there was a lot of juggling, but having a wonderful mom that I did, and parents, and my dad, really, my mom more than my dad, because of, she understood, and not saying that my dad didn't understand the life skills that I'd get out of Scouts, but my mom really understood it, and she really was actually the biggest inspiration of why I became an Eagle Scout. She definitely stuck by my side. Let's see. What was my favorite merit badge? Jeez. What was my favorite? Financing was the one I couldn't. I struggled with I used to get frustrated with numbers, and obviously that was one. Still, my mom was one of my mom's biggest accomplishments, because I was able to achieve the merit badge. Let's see what else we got. Kelly, I wish I could say I do remember the Scout Oath, but I would definitely have to go back into the brain bank and try to do it. So, how old were you when I became an Eagle Scout, and what grade? It was definitely as close to my 18th birthday, or as close to the deadline of not being able to earn the Eagle Scout badge. As I said, I juggled so many sports, and not only that, just life in general, as a high schooler, and so I got it nearly as close to my 18th birthday, or right before I graduated high school, so 12th grade. Let's see. What was my favorite scouting activity? I used to love being able to go, to different camps, on weekends with the troop, and just experience, sometimes what I would call the uncomfortable, being out in the middle of nowhere, basically having just, learning how to ration on what you have, collecting water. Those are the kind of things, as I said, it taught me about life, and that was a question from Shannon, but, it definitely taught me about life lessons. As I said, we keep talking about life skills. Just because I became an athlete, I lose a lot of my scouting, skills, and what I learned through scouting, through my career, and it definitely helped. How were my grades? Victor wants to know. Early on in my high school career, I struggled with grades, but as I matured and I understood what and how important it was, it definitely changed rapidly. I think my sophomore year, I finally got back on track, and my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I averaged about a 3.2 and higher. Obviously, juggling, as I said, all those sports, Scouts, just in the everyday life of a teenager, all in one equation. So I was able to miraculously figure it out. Shannon wanted to know, what was my Eagle Scout project? So my Eagle Scout project was, for me, obviously had to do with sports, because I love sports so much. So I actually had to organize a weekend clinic for youth. So basically I had to, basically from A to Z, I had to get the trainers, I had to get, all the, food, organized. I wanted to do that rather than the typical, and I know I shouldn't say typical, but, a lot of people would go to a church and build, or go to a school, or go to something, in their community and build. I felt like, because I love sports so much, that I would do a sporting clinic to basically give my community an opportunity to do something different, and in kids, within Scouts, something different than just, going out and pounding the pavement and doing your building skills. A lot of times we never, sports wasn't so implemented within Scouts, but because I was doing it, as a love besides scouting, that I wanted to implement it. And, it was tough. It was long. You had to, as I said, you had to basically come up with call the county, get the fields, get everything out, get a flyer out, organize the volunteers of who was going to, basically watch the medical aspect to it, who was going to check people in, what coaches were going to put and be a part of the clinic. But it was fun. I had a blast, and it was a big success.
There's a question here. It's an interesting one. Were you able to bring any scouting lessons to your career in the major league with Major League Baseball? For example, lessons for teammates on tenacity or leadership. Also, this person also wants to thank you for hitting the bomb off Sabathia in the NLDS, one of his favorite baseball moments. But anyway, interesting that trying to tie in scouting with your major league career, and I know how locker rooms can be sometimes, so maybe you could talk a little bit about that. So
yeah, I mean, there's different personalities, just like in scouting. There were so many different personalities mixed into one room, and so the skills that I learned on how to navigate through all of that, through the skills of, as I talked about a second ago with summer camps and competing against others, and understanding sportsmanship, respect, those all, definitely played a big factor into my career because, at a professional level, you have to be respectful. You have to understand the game. You got to understand, your teammates and what, or colleagues that you're playing against and what may be going through, not just on the field as, an athlete not doing well, what may be going on at home with a family member or, so all these things tied into respect, which is one thing that we're definitely taught in Scout is to respect others. And it definitely tied into my, and that's not that. I mean, the financial, merit badge that I talked about and, learning my finances, all of a sudden, basically coming from not much to, having a lot of, numbers added to your, financial statement to, understanding that, what it is that, Scouts taught me about saving and, I remember until I would say my second year in the big leagues, I would literally balance my checkbook to the T because that was something that I learned in Scouts. And my mom always taught me that if you make sure that you understand your finances, that you'll go a lot farther in life. So, and, not only that, appreciate what you have when you look at that, statement every month and understand that you go to work and what you go to work for. And that when you look at that dotted line. So, all those skills definitely played into my, my major league career and helped me both not just on the field, but off the field. And as I said, with my financial aspect.
another question here from Seth Walter. What advice would you give to a scout with many activities, pulling them in different directions?
Man, that's we touched upon that a second ago. I think ultimately it's a juggle act. It's definitely not easy. It was definitely not easy for me. I try to, tell people I grew up in a different era, where, and not only an era, but a time where, and a place on a little island where, there weren't many of us as athletes in general. So to have coaches that understood that I might miss a practice and be okay with that because I was at, another sports practice, all those kind of things, you have to figure out. And I think ultimately for me, it's understanding what is important, and having the right people, but being communicative, to be able to communicate with your coaches and your parents communicating with the coaches, and understanding that what's going on, and for me, my coaches knew that I was at other practices. So I was getting, my athletic skills, and fine tuning them. Might not be at a baseball practice, football practice, or soccer, whatever sport it was, but I was definitely, involved and I wasn't sitting on my couch. So I think that was the one part that allowed me to juggle act a little bit more.
I want to ask, did you play collegiate baseball? And when you did college recruiters actually look and take into account that you were an Eagle Scout?
I did not play collegiate baseball. I actually signed out of high school. And I actually do remember, scouts talking about, not just collegiately, but professionally about, when they did see that on, the card that you filled out, they'll always ask sometimes, what is it, or other things that you're involved in. And I said, Eagle Scout. And, it definitely stood out because people understand, the commitment that being a scout and what it takes, on an everyday basis. You're basically adding another implementive aspect of life to your equation as a kid by, having to earn merit badges and earn rankings and climbing, to the top and becoming an Eagle Scout.
Did you know, Victor Goodhue wants to know, did you know of any other Major League Baseball Eagle Scouts?
Oh, I'm sure there's a few. I just don't remember running or talking to any of them about it, or having a conversation on a Major League Baseball field other than, when people and scouts do come and visit.
Kelly Lesnick says, my daughter Bernina would like to know if you like knot tying and which was your favorite knot.
I used to love, and I think one of my favorite knots was a square knot because it was one of the earliest and simplest knots to tie. If you asked me to put my knot skills together now, we would be in trouble. That's the unfortunate part about this, is that I definitely lost a lot of my life skills going into my career as far as, those aspects and tying knots and, those sort of things. But you definitely remember a lot of them. I'll tell you that much. What was your Hillary? What was your favorite troop campout meal recipe? Oh man, growing up in Hawaii, there's all kinds of things. That's why I said it's a little different. Growing up there, rice was one thing. So we know how to take rice in a bag and keep it next to a pot and put it on a stove, in the middle of nowhere and or over a fire that you start, and make rice with whatever else that you usually take with you.
Hillary Bailey asks, what is your proudest accomplishment in life that made all the difference?
And my proudest accomplishment, I think, was my, I say it time and time again, it was the Boys and Girls Club that I did there in Philadelphia. Knowing the impact that it would leave on a community. I've done a lot of projects back home with my foundation, around batting cages and the game of baseball and, other things that I've done off there from grant aspects. But yeah, the one thing that I remember in life, is that day I was able to renovate and reopen a Boys and Girls Club in the city of Nicetown in Philadelphia.
Victor asks again, do you have any advice for basing my Eagle project off of making one of my Little League fields turf?
No, specific. Good luck. I hope you can do it. It'll definitely be something that the community will love, and it'll last a lot longer, a lot less maintenance. But yeah, I mean, I wish you the best of luck on that. If turf was as accessible as it is today, back when I was doing my project, I probably would have done the same. So, good luck. That's a great project. I love, and hopefully I get to see the outcome.
Patrick Kaiser compliments you on your Eagle project and sound like a great project. So that's good. I think I'm trying to scan here, Shane, to make sure I got everything. I don't know whether you see anything else or not. So if any of the other panelists have anything I've missed, feel free to chime in.
I do have one more, Shane, if you don't mind. And it's one that kind of stuck out to me right from the beginning. And, one of the things that we learn in scouting is always to leave our campsite better than how we found it. Of course, I've learned as an Eagle Scout that the campsite, is a figurative term, and that it really means our neighborhood, our city, our state, and even the world on a large scale. And I've read some articles. I mean, I was a huge fan myself when you were in Philly, and still am. And I've seen how you've started your foundation and have a passion for making Maui better, your home island. in many ways, you are still living by the Scout Oath and Law. You're still doing that good turn daily. And what are your goals now, as you go forward, to continue doing that?
Goals is to do them bigger and better. I think it's giving, in my opinion, never stops. There's always a need. I think one of my favorite sayings from my childhood, my parents or family would always say to me, if you think you've got it bad, there's always someone out there that's got it worse. And, it always stuck by me that no matter, how bad my day that, my day is going, or my day was, or my day is at that point, that like, I'm lucky to be smiling, have great health, breathing fresh air, and that, someone always has it worse than you. So, giving back, and that quote always stays with me, because it's important to, for me, and I know that, and, it's easier said than done, when you talk about being able to do it from a financial standpoint, but, it ultimately, for me, it's not about that financial aspect. It's about using my platform, and using who I am to get the right people in the room, to continue that journey of giving back. So, I just want to do it bigger and better. Hopefully someday soon I can, I'd like to do a big project back home in Hawaii, with what partnership. I'm still trying to navigate through all of that, but, there's definitely a bigger project on the horizon that I'd like to do back home in Maui, for where I call home, because it is changing fast, and I hope I can slow some of the change and get it back to, what I grew up and what I once loved about that place. And, that's that aloha spirit. And, as you said, treat your neighbor, you kind of touched upon it, treat everything with respect. I think ultimately, whether it be the land, whether it be your friends, whether it be your neighbor, that's something that was, I grew up and watched on an everyday basis. As, Robert can talk, touch you guys upon, is that, that's one thing, it's respect for everything that's around you, because respect is such a it's greater good.
Hey, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Pat Press, our council president, has something I think he wants to say. So.
Awesome, Shane. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us tonight about how scouting has taught you life skills. I was so interesting to hear how you integrated your love of sports into your Eagle Scout project. I was really inspired by your comments, and I can't begin to tell you how thrilling it's been to think about the fact that you chose to spend your night with us tonight. I particularly loved hearing how important the summer camp experience was for you in your scouting journey. And along those lines, Shane, we'd love to extend our gratitude for spending time with us tonight by creating a $5,000 scholarship, campership in your name, which is going to go to the first new scouting unit that's going to be created as a result of tonight's event, that signs up 10 scouts to go to summer camp at one of our 2 summer camps, Rodney Scout Reservation or Henson Scout Reservation, and signs 10 scouts up to attend summer camp. So that basically means that whole unit is going to go to summer camp for free in your name this summer, for the first unit that signs up and brings 10 kids to summer camp. So thank you so much for spending time with us.
Oh man, that means a lot.
Those kids are going to have an awesome time at summer camp in your honor, and they're going to build the kind of memories that you were talking to us about tonight.
They're great. I mean, as I said, they're memories that, like I said, I still talk about them, to competing, as I said, as troops against one another. I think it's a great life skill. A lot of times I didn't want to go because I knew I was spending time away from my family again, and it was uncomfortable for me to do. And it wasn't, I didn't get to be doing my sports and all the things that I love. But, beyond that, the life lessons that it taught me, I still carry them every day. So I appreciate that, Pat. And, Mr. Nakagawa, thank you guys for allowing me, the opportunity to come on board and share my story. And, hopefully I'll keep inspiring each and every one of you guys.
Shane, thank you so much for your commitment to the island community and everything you do for us as our council, even for me, especially taking care of the island connection. I greatly appreciate your love of the sport, love of scouting, and what you've done for us this evening. And we're hoping that this is just a pebble in the pond that just ripples and helps us to make a greater impact in the lives of all the youth in our peninsula, to make scouting and our communities a better place. And can't say how much I appreciate you.
You're
spending
welcome.
time tonight.
And hopefully someday, if I get out east and I get to come see a lot of you in person, I'll come down and visit the peninsula, because I know it's not far from Philadelphia.
Please do.
That would be awesome.
You have a place to stay.
Thank
sure.
you very much. Well, I'm going to sign off. Aloha again, everybody. I appreciate you guys allowing me to come here tonight. And as I said, share my story. And if I can be of any help, Mr. Nakagawa, reach out. Mr. Press, I'm here. I love helping, and it's about giving back and being an inspiration and continuing the journey, because someday one of these scouts will do the same and inspire their community and the world, to make it a greater place.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you,
supporting
guys.
Scouting, Shane.
Have a great night. Aloha.
Aloha.
Robert, you're up.
Awesome. Well, thanks again to Shane for taking the time and being with us. And tonight, for all of our new guests, we wanted to talk about starting new units and how we can better make an impact. I don't know about you, but if we're going to get more Shane Victorinos, we need more people growing up with the values of the Scout Oath and Law. And I can't tell you how much scouting, whether he realizes it or not, he's still, as Malin pointed out, living by the Scout Oath and Law and making our campsite a better place than he found it. And scouting for me and my family it's so much more than a program. It is a lifestyle. The service we do, whether it's a cleanup around our neighborhood or scouting for food or going on campouts and building memories together as a family as we go camping, it's just an exciting program. And we have an opportunity and quite honestly, an obligation for us to make our communities a better place. And there isn't a better program that I know of than scouting and working with you and your organizations, as well as if you're a scout, bringing your friends on board to be scouts. Because if everyone that we knew lived by the values of the Scout Oath and Law, what would our communities look like? Look at all the social turmoil that we've got, and not getting political, because we're not about politics. We're about teaching civics and leadership and character education. And if everybody lived by the values of the Scout Oath and Law, what kind of community would we be living in today? And that's my goal with my children and someday grandchildren, great-grandchildren. It's our responsibility to make scouting and the communities we live in a better place. All the community service hours that we provide to the community is huge, but we can do it so much better by partnering with organizations like yourselves. And we have 12 steps to organizing a new unit. Matt Peters mentioned a handful of them, and we are happy to partner with you after this event tonight to sit down with you and go through the steps of organizing new units. And so much of it depends on the leadership we secure. We have to identify our partners, and if you're here, you're a partner, whether you're a church, a business, a community organization, a civic club. We can partner together and through our shared values, develop a scout unit, whether it's a Cub Scout pack, working with elementary age youth from kindergarten to 5th grade, working on a Scout BSA troop for a boys troop or a girls troop like Scarlett's. We can serve those young women from completing the 5th grade all the way through 18. Or we have a co-ed program that is 14 to 20 for young men and young women called Venturing, or Sea Scouts, as well as Exploring. We have Explore clubs for elementary age youth, middle school. And we have Exploring programs that is vocational, whether they're learning how to be welders or working in the medical field or carpentry, you name it, there's a field for it. And we can partner with you in developing a workforce development program called Exploring. So we identify our prospects, all of us. This is part of us approaching you, is we're hoping that you're excited about partnering with us. And we're hoping that you'll adopt this program as one of your outreach programs. As Matt mentioned, we'll then put together an organizing committee where we would then identify and select key leaders within your organization and outside the organization that you feel comfortable with being leaders for us and you in the scouting program. We will then plan and organize a program, train those leaders, recruit the youth, we'll finish the paperwork, and then we'll get our first unit meeting and we'll do a follow-up where we present a charter. And as Pat mentioned, for the first unit that gets organized, because of tonight, we got a $5,000 scholarship to fund your first summer camp, but we need you to get 10 kids registered and active. And the first one to do that will get the $5,000 scholarship. So working with us and your executives and our registrar, we'll be able to know which unit was the first one over the finish line with 10 new kids. But there isn't a more exciting time than now to get involved and be a part of scouting. We do have some things happening on the national horizon, but that doesn't affect how we deal and how we serve kids here on our peninsula to make our peninsula a better place to live. You know, one scout, one unit at a time, we can make the difference and change the world. What would it be like if we had another dozen or 24 Eagle Scouts like Scarlett or Malin or Shane Victorino's making a difference on a daily basis in the communities we live in? That's a future I'm looking forward to living in, and it's on us to make it happen. So again, thank you for tuning in and being with us tonight, and appreciate working with you going forward.
Well, everybody that you've heard from this evening will sort of act as a panel to answer any questions that you have. Again, you can do that two ways. One is you can ask in the question and answer box down at the bottom like you did with Shane, or you could actually, well, I can't unmute themselves, I guess. So, because we're on a we're on a webinar, I keep forgetting that. So there's a question and answer at the bottom, and we'll try to answer any questions that you have regarding the program tonight, or if you have a specific question of anyone who spoke, I'm sure they would be able to address that. So I don't know. We'll go down to the question and answer and see if we've got anybody.
So somebody did have a question for Scarlett. What would you say to younger scouts juggling sports and academics on top of scouts and social life?
I would say kind of like, I guess I would say what Shane said. Keep juggling it. If you need to take a break, it's okay to take a break. Just do what makes you happy. Of course, do homework in school. That's kind of important. But yeah, if sports is your passion, go with sports. If scouting is something you love to do, continue with it, and things are going to get better.
Well, I don't think I'm seeing anybody asking any questions unless I'm missing something. Nobody in the chat room, I don't think so.
So we have
Yes, we have one for Malin. Do you see that one?
Yes, I do. So Brandon says, how did serving as lodge chief and being a section officer help you on the football field? I think that's a great question. I think I'm informed with other lodge chiefs and other section officers across the nation in the section, and it's not a very common thing to find other guys that play football. A lot of it has to do with the time associated with it. And some people, just football's like I said, a very time consuming sport. But I think just being in charge of an organization that puts on events for hundreds of people in just one weekend, the skills and the things that you learn doing that are very easily applied to a football field. It might seem a little strange, but it's just like I hit on earlier, the techniques that you use to guide people to to make plans for things, everything like that. I've been able to transfer it just from how we run things on the lodge level to how we're operating as a football team. We're able to just, for me, I'm a huge person to lead through delegation. I have great officers around me right now as a lodge chief, and I also have great teammates around me on the football team. And I'm, as I stated earlier, again, I'm a firm believer in if everyone does one simple part, the team, whether the team is the football team or the lodge, will strive, will do great, and that's how it's really helped me. I truly believe serving in these positions have made me a better football player and a better leader outside of scouting, and that's, I mean, it's something that another great benefit of scouting.
Well, I think that's the last of the questions that I see. So I guess I'll wrap this up if that's okay. Well, again, we want to thank our audience for being with us and sharing your evening. And I hope you got as much out of it and got rejuvenated as much as I did. And hearing from Malin and Scarlett particularly, and then Matt sharing how scouting has helped his organization dramatically, and of course Shane Victorino sharing his life story and how scouting has fitted into that. So before I sign off here, Pat, you have some closing remarks, I think.
I do. Thank you, Cliff. And thank you all for joining our event this evening. We are honored that you could take some time out of your busy schedules to hear a bit about the story of scouting and how it impacts the lives of individuals and the fabric of our communities. I earned the rank of Eagle Scout in 1984, and no leadership training I've had received since then has formed me more than the leadership and life lessons I've learned in scouting. It's similar to what we heard from Malin tonight and also from Shane. When a young man or young woman receives the rank of Eagle Scout, there's a part in the ceremony called the Eagle Charge. And there's a part of that charge that goes like this: our country has had a great past. You can help make the future even greater. I charge you to undertake your citizenship with a solemn dedication. Be a leader, but lead only toward the best. Lift up every task you do and every office you hold to the highest level of service to God and to your fellow man. Make it your mission to live and serve, that those who know you will be inspired to finer living. I charge you to be among those who dedicate their hearts, hands, skills, and abilities to the common good. Help to build America's future by continuing to set an example of clean living, honest work, unselfish citizenship, and reverence to God, no matter what others may do. You will leave behind a record for which you will be justly proud. I don't know about you, but listening to the speakers tonight, it's been easy to see that each of these fine men and women continues to leave behind a legacy. Each of them continues to invest in the community. Each lives the principles of the Scout Oath and Law in the very fiber of their interactions with everyone they come into contact with. These men and women live the words from that Eagle Charge each and every day. Make it your mission to live and serve, that those who know you will be inspired to finer living. There's something about an Eagle Scout that makes you stand out from the pack. As an HR executive, I spend much of my life involved in the process of hiring talent. I love to see someone reference their scouting involvement on a resume, but I'm instantly drawn to a reference that an applicant is an Eagle Scout. When all other factors are equal amongst candidates, the Eagle Scout makes one resume stand boldly out from the others, even for people who are seasoned professionals. The hallmark characteristics of an Eagle Scout never tarnish. They continue to gleam brightly like a beacon, which captures the attention of all who see it. We've set an aggressive goal of establishing 100 new scouting units on the Delmarva Peninsula this year. We've been that bold because we believe strongly in the enduring values of the scouting program, and we've seen the impact that scouting has on the communities and individuals. Young people who are involved in the scouting program have deeper faith relationships, higher graduation rates, are less likely to use drugs, and are more involved in the community. Speaking of community involvement, Scouts in our council performed over 170,000 hours of service to our community. That has a dollar impact of $3.9 million of value to our community. To those of you considering starting new scouting units, I assure you that it is an investment into our future that will be one of your proudest endeavors. Our council team stands at the ready to support you in any way we can. And don't forget that there's that $5,000 campership waiting for the first unit to organize. Thanks again for attending this evening. I hope you, like me, take the stories you heard tonight from Malin and Scarlett and Matt and Shane with you and reflect on them. Think about the sparkle in their eyes when they were talking about their experience of scouting and how it impacted them. There's something special in this program. It changes lives and it transforms communities. So take these stories with you and let's grow scouting together in Delmarva. Cliff, I'll turn it back to you.
Pat, thank you very much. I can't say it any better. Thank you again once, everybody, for being with us this evening, and have a good evening. Thank you.